I'm Mike Sullivan, and today I'd like to help you out with hitting those little pitch shots around the green. Okay, that was a pitch shot. We work on pitching in our short game classes on a regular basis. And one of the things that comes up a lot of times is communicating really exactly what should be happening on a couple levels. And the first level, or the first thing that gets people in trouble, is understanding what is supposed to happen with our hands. How do our hands work down through the shot? And this is something where if you talk to better golfers, or if you're trying to help a better player, you'll probably have a different conversation with a low handicapper than you will with a high handicapper or with a beginner. And here's the reason why. Most really good players, when they hit golf shots, I'll pull the ball over. When a lower handicapper, so if you're a low handicapper, this might be you, when you hit golf shots, you probably do a pretty good job of striking the ball with your weight in your front foot and your handle leading the club head through impact this way. Okay? And in order to become a better player, usually you'll have an idea that you should be striking the ball with your hands ahead of the club head. You would probably have an idea that the concept is this would really be incorrect. We want to be here. Okay, so better players, though, a lot of times they kind of overdo something good. So a lot of times you'll see, if you're a low handicapper, you will see people have trouble sometimes hitting pitch shots where they get the handle of the club so far forward that their hands are no longer in front of their chest. So they kind of drag the club through impact. This is something that can happen also for a higher handicapper who's working on getting better. So if you look at instruction videos, articles, things like that, where we're talking to good players, we're going to say to people, hey, when we're swinging the club head has to pass you down at the bottom. Okay? So the club at some point is going to get past the hands. We don't want this sort of a situation happening when we're hitting our pitch shots. It's really common for better players to de-loft the club too much because they are dragging the handle through. Okay? So, and this next thing I'm going to say really applies to everybody. We should be swinging the club so that whenever the head of the club is below the grip at all, well, then the grip should be pretty much pointing back at us. Okay? So what that means is, as we come down to here, notice the grip is starting to point back at me, and through impact, it's pointing back at me. We don't want to strike the ball with the handle literally pointing ahead of us. We don't want our hands too far in front of us. We want our club to be in front of our chest throughout the shot. I hope that makes sense. I may have over-explained it, but hopefully you got that. So a real good practice, something that I found works really well for people, is to start with some practice swings where they can just feel that the club is pulling away from them throughout the course of their swing. So what that means is if I was to let go of the club would fly directly away from me. And then that's a pretty good indication that my hands are in front of my chest and I'm allowing centripetal force to be the driver of the swing instead of hands moving like laterally towards the target. Okay? So whether you're a newer player, an experienced player, a low handicapper, a high handicapper, we always want to keep the club swinging. We want that centripetal force working. So if you don't get the sense that if you let go of the club it'd fly away from you, you may be over controlling the club. Okay? So better players especially, keep it swinging. Don't de-loft the club too much. Don't let your hands get out in front of you out here too much. Okay, now that leads us into the higher handicappers, the beginners, the people who have more room for improvement, okay? And this is most people. What I just explained there, if a newer golfer only hears that, here's what their pitches are gonna look like. That's actually a pretty good shot considering, okay? We're gonna see a very, very handsy, scoopy type of an impact position, weight probably moving into our back foot. And the big problem with this is that whenever the club head here gets past the handle, you're going to bottom out back behind the ball, and you're gonna hit the ground all the time before you hit the ball and chunk your shot, or you're gonna catch the ball as the club is coming up and you're gonna thin it or you're going to blade it. Okay, so in order to kind of get a decent handle to go from the higher handicapper to the lower handicapper, we do want to get the handle a little bit ahead of that club head with weight moving into our front foot. All right, and the one little trick on that I would say is, and this is where it gets a little, you got to practice, we've got to make this happen where the handle leaves the club head while we're swinging the club, not if we're dragging the club through, okay? So a lot of times when we're working in our golf classes with the higher handicap golfers, right, we see people that the way that they feel most comfortable is this scoop motion. Okay, you'll notice I didn't really finish turning through with my hips or with my shoulders. This feels really comfortable, and then really they have a sense of what they like to do and then the opposite of it, and then we try to get them to feel more this way, which is a little bit more like that handle drag, except I am kind of swinging the club as well, all right? So really, as you're watching this video, try to figure out who are you in this? So when you're hitting your pitches, are you getting weight into your front foot, right? Or are you finishing with your weight on both feet, or even getting back a little bit into your back foot? If you're getting weight into your back foot, well then you've got to get more into your front side and feel like the handle is leaning a little bit more. If you're a pretty good player and you're hitting your shots a little bit lower, and mainly you're just having trouble with the leading edge of the club digging into the turf, then you might be just dragging that handle a little bit too much. And of course, with nowadays that everybody has, cell phones and all that stuff, you can just set up your phone right in front of you. You can record in slow motion, and you can see, hey, at impact, am I here where I've got my weight more on my front foot and my handle is leaning, or am I more flat-footed and the club head is flipping past my hands? Okay. Again, what to do on both. If you're handle dragging, you've got to feel that club passing you a little bit more. It may help also for you to feel and think about how is the sole of the club interacting with the turf, all right? So if you're one of these guys who's handle dragging, or girls, feel that club head, that sole of the club bouncing on the turf, as opposed to the leading edge slicing and dragging through the turf, as opposed to that type of a thing. If you're a higher handicapper, right, you'll know if you're coming through and you're finishing your swing and you've got that little hook in your wrist right there, that cupped wrist. If you're having trouble with this happening, what I like for you to do is make sure at the end of your swing, your hips and your shoulders are facing the target and your hands are out in front of your chest. See, at the end, my hands are in front of my chest. I've gotten all the way through it. And that's a great start either way for you. I really hate to say the problem that you're probably having, it could be one of these two extremes, but I found that to be the case. And generally, better golfers tend to drag the handle too much, and the higher handicappers tend to get their weight in their back foot and scoop their wrists a little bit. All right? I hope that helps. I'll see you next time.